Hi everyone, welcome to our Google presentation this evening. I'm Jackie Gilmartin and I'm here joined with Jeanne, Sean, Justin, and Mike, and we're going to spend some time with you this evening to show you all the different features of Google Calendar. This evening I'm going to start the presentation, but keep in mind that during our presentation we did enable the Q&A session. So if you have any questions, please type them in and we will address them at the end of our presentation. I'm going to begin tonight by sharing my screen with you, and I'm going to show you how to get into your Google Calendar and some of the overall features of the layout of the calendar. Bear with me for 1 minute as I get my calendar back up here. Okay, there we go. All right, so once you're logged into your Google account, there's several different ways that you can get into your Google Calendar. You can click on the apps launcher and click on Calendar, and that will launch your calendar. You'll also notice that if you come up into the Omnibar, if you were to type in google.com/calendar, that will also take you to your calendar. All right. You'll notice that when you log in and you open up your calendar, there's several different views that you can look at your calendar. Right now, I'm currently looking at the week view, and you'll notice that over on the right-hand side, you'll have several different tabs here for the different types of view. So currently, I'm in the week tab, and I can see from Sunday through Saturday for this current week. If I wanted to look at just the events in my calendar for today, I can click on the Day tab, and this would then show me all the events that I have scheduled on my calendar for this particular day. And notice that the date is up here, up at the top. In addition to the day view and the week view, we can also look at the month view. And this will allow us to look at all the events on our calendar for the entire month. So currently I'm looking at October. All right. We also have the 4-day view, and this will show from the current day and the next 3 days. So you'll see the 4 days in a row, similar to the week view, but it's just condensed it down into 4 days.
Jackie, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm not seeing your calendar view change.
Okay. Let me stop sharing my screen.
I don't know if anybody else didn't see a change.
Yeah, it wasn't like I'm not seeing your cursor move. Are you on a different window maybe than what's being shared?
Hold on, let me just get there again. Okay, I'm going to try sharing it one more time. See. Are you able to see it now? Let's see.
Now I see your cursor.
It's moving?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to go back and quickly review some of the things that I just went over so you can actually see them in action. When I first opened up my calendar, I was looking at the week view, and this will show you Sunday through Saturday, and you'll be able to see all the events on your calendar for that particular week. We can look at today's calendar by clicking the Day button, and that will show you a list of just today's events. We can also look at the month view which will show us all of our events for the entire month. I'm currently looking at October 2014. You'll see over here at the top of your calendar. We can look at the 4-day view, which will start with the current date, and it will give you the 3 days coming up, similar to the week view. And finally, we have the agenda view. And in the agenda view, we can see the events listed in slightly different view in more of a list form. You'll notice that up at the top left corner, you can either expand all events or you can collapse them, depending on how you want to view your events. You'll notice that you'll see the times and you'll see the events. If there's a location posted for that event, that will be listed as well. And you'll notice that there's also these icons that will tell you if there is a reminder, if it's a recurring event, or if it's a private or public event. So these icons are very useful when you're quickly looking through the events on your calendar. If you click on right now I'm looking in the collapsed view, which puts it into a sort of condensed view for you, but if you wanted to see more details and have a little more features, we could click on the expand all, and this would now allow us to change the color of the events, delete an event, and add an event, and we can scroll through the week and we can see all the events that are on our calendar. I'm just going to jump back to the collapse view, and you'll notice that there's a plus sign next to each event. If I click on it, I would get the same features that I see in the expanded view. So this is a nice way for you to quickly be able to see your events in a more condensed version and allow you to edit and manage those events. If we look up in the top right corner next to those possible views, you'll notice that there is a More button. When you click the More button, you can select to print the calendar, and it will print, you'll have the options here to print, pick a range of dates to print. You can change the font size. You can change the orientation. All right, you can add in your print descriptions, and you have all these options that respond to your events. Also from that More button, you can refresh your calendar. So every so often, if you want to refresh it and see if there's any new events that have been added, if you have shared calendars, you would be able to see those. To the right of the More button, you'll see that there's the Settings button. And here you'll be able to change the display density, and it will you can change it between comfortable, cozy, and compact. You'll have this in the other Google applications as well. You can get into your settings, help. You can select labs that allows you to try out new features that Google they're trying out right now, so you can give those a whirl. You can also go offline and work on your calendar offline. You can sync with your mobile device, and you can even send feedback to Google. A lot of these features will be discussed later on in the presentation, so I'm not going to spend time going into those currently. I'm going to switch back to my week view right now and talk about some of the events on our calendar. Now, Jeanne's going to be talking to you about adding and managing events shortly, but I do want to talk about the look of the events and what they mean. You'll notice that some of the events on my calendar are bright, and these events have not yet occurred. The events that are faded are events that have already passed. So it's a nice visual way for you to be able to see what's already happened and what's coming up on your calendar. If you look up at the top of your calendar, you'll notice that right here I see the date range of what the dates that I'm viewing on my calendar currently. If I would like to move either forward or back in the weeks, I can simply click the arrows to change the date range. I can move ahead and I can move back. If I am on a week, viewing a week that is not currently displaying today and I'd like to come back to today on my calendar, all I have to do is simply click the Today button. If we look over on the left-hand side, we have some menus. If we click on the Create button, it will allow you to create an event. And like I said, Jeanne's going to be going over that shortly. She'll also go over the quick add. We have a mini calendar. The mini calendar will show a small version of the calendar that you're viewing. We can easily flip through different calendars by using the arrows. We can also notice that there is a square around today, and it might be kind of hard to see, but it is shaded for the range of dates that I'm viewing on my larger calendar over here. So if I were to go into November and highlight a group of dates, then that would now bring me to those specific dates in my larger view on my calendar. You can minimize the mini calendar if you don't want to have that visible on your left toolbar at any time by just clicking the little arrow next to the mini calendar. Directly under that, you'll find My Calendars. Everyone begins with one calendar. However, when you click on the drop-down arrow next to My Calendars, you can create new calendars and name them, and you can also access your settings for your calendars. You'll notice that you can also click on the drop-down arrow next to your calendar, and it gives you some options. You could display only this calendar, and that would come in play when you have other calendars that have been shared with you that you view at one time. You can go into this calendar specific settings. You can create an event. You can share this calendar. You can set the reminders and notifications for the events on this calendar, and you can also select a color for this calendar. I can simply change it, and now you can see that some of my events have changed. You'll also have the option to add tasks. Okay, you can change the color for your tasks, and you can choose whether or not you'd like to display those tasks. If I click on the word tasks, you'll notice that the tasks toolbar pops over here on the right, and I can add and cross off and complete my tasks as needed. Jeanne will also be touching a little bit on tasks in the next portion. I'm going to minimize my calendars right now, and then I will show you, you also have other calendars. So other people can share their calendars with you. You can also add in additional calendars, and I know that Sean and Justin will be touching a little bit on this feature later on in our presentation. But I can click to turn on any one of these calendars that have been shared with me or I've added or subscribed to in my calendar. If I click on Jeanne's calendar, I can now, let me go back to today, I can see Jeanne's events. And I know they're Jeanne's because of the color coded next to her name, so I can tell which events belong to her. If I click on to Mike's calendar, I can now also see the events that Mike has on his calendar. This becomes really handy when you're trying to plan events and see when you have common time available. I can simply turn on and turn off the events. Also, if you're looking for a specific event and you're not sure when it's scheduled, you can come up to the top of your calendar and you'll see there's a search calendar field. When I click in here, I can type in a keyword, and you'll notice that right now it's going to show me, I haven't even clicked return or hit search, but it will start to list some of the events in the calendar, as well as anything related to this term in my Google Drive. But if I go ahead and finish this, and I press search, it's now going to bring me the events on my calendar that are specifically tied to this Google Calendar. If I click on the plus sign, I'm able to see all of my details, and I can even respond to invitations as well. At this time, I'm going to show you and just talk to you a little bit about making your calendar public or private. And the way that we can set our calendar to being public if we wish is to come over to the settings. And when I click on the settings, I'm going to come down and click on settings. All right, and I'm going to now come to calendars. You'll notice if you come down under my calendars, here is my calendar. And if I come all the way over to the right, there's under sharing, you'll see shared edit settings. When I click on shared edit settings, this will allow me to tell others about how I can share with specific people. But the one piece I want you to sort of notice is right up here. It says make this calendar public. Something to keep in mind is that if you make your calendar public, everyone in the world can search for your calendar and see the events on your calendar. If you're not comfortable with the entire world seeing all of your events and the details of your events, but you still want to share your calendar with them, you can select share only my free busy information and hide the details. So it will just show that you're busy, but that you have something going on at that time on your calendar. So this is an option, but something to keep in mind when you're making those selections. Now, if you were to make this calendar public, you would need to make sure that you click Save after you made those changes. I'm just going to go back to my calendar right now. Okay, that's my portion of an overview of the calendar. And right now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to switch over to Jeanne, who's going to talk to you about adding events.
Thank you, Jackie. Now that you know what Google Calendar looks like, we're going to start adding some events. So the first thing I'm going to do is bring up my calendar. So as I bring it up, I'm just going to let you know that there are several different ways to add events. All right. I hope you can see my calendar now. So here's my calendar. And the first way that we're going to add an event is just by simply clicking in the calendar. So if I want to add an event tomorrow at, say, 12 o'clock, I can just click right there, and a window pops up. And this is a little window where you've already had the when and the what put in, the when and the time put in, and all you have to do is put in the what. So say I had a meeting at that time, I create the event, and notice it appears in the calendar. Let me just delete this event quickly so that I can show you some other details. In order to delete it, I just click on it again and see I have a delete and I have an edit event option. All right, so if you look at this calendar, you'll notice that it's set up in 30-minute increments. And when I click on it, the default setting for your event is for an hour. Here I clicked at 1:30 and the default setting is 1:30 to 2:30. Well, what happens if you want to have that meeting at, say, 1:45? Well, you go into Edit Event, and you'll see over here where the time is automatically set up, it says 1:30. If I click in there, I can choose a bunch of different times, but if I don't like any of the times that are there, I can type in my own time. There I put in 1:45, and as soon as I click out of it, I want you to notice that it automatically set my event to 1 hour to end at 2:45. So, of course, I can change the end time, and you'll notice this pop-up box shows you both some possible end times and the elapsed time that goes with it. So if it's a 3-hour meeting, you can click in that, or you can actually type in the end time yourself. Let me just save that so you can see what it looks like. So now over here I have my event from 1:45 to 4. I have that meeting. And you could also click and drag and change that event. So if the meeting actually gets moved to a different day or time, I can click and drag that event to another place. All right, now I'm going to go back into this event and edit it. I could click on the box and it brings up the little window, and I could then click Edit Event. Or if you notice, when I scroll over the name of the event, meeting here, and the line comes under it, If I click on that, it automatically brings me to the event details window. So I skip that other step in there. And now you can see the details of the event. There are so many details you can add to an event that I'm going to go over some of them. I hope that you explore the rest of them on your own. So let me just start out. You can put in a location for your event. So say I had my meeting at the school. I type in Sousa, and it actually will pull up things that it finds from Google Maps on to the where box here. So I can put that in. The video call, if I wanted to have a video call at that time and go into a Google Hangout, I can add in the video call, and that way right on my calendar I can click on the video icon and start my video call. You could write a description. You could change the event color. I just want to warn you about changing the event color. As Jackie showed you, your calendar has a color associated with it, and if you start changing all of the event colors and then you add somebody else's calendar in, sometimes you get mixed up between whose event is yours and whose event is somebody else's. So if you're sharing calendars with other people, think about that before changing the color of the event. Here, this is one of my favorite features, the reminders. You can actually set up reminders so that you will get reminded before the event occurs. A pop-up will pop up. It actually popped up on my computer about 30 minutes ago to remind me of this event. Or you can have an email that gets sent a day before. I can even add additional reminders. A pop-up or an email. Maybe I want to send myself an email to remind myself a week in advance. Well, not 10 weeks, but just 1 week in advance. And there we go. That would be another reminder. Another thing you can do is you can add guests to your event. If you type in an email address, if I type in, you can see I can add Jackie, and I could send her. She now would get an email to the event. I could click email guests, or I could add a whole bunch more email addresses. Find a time, this feature over here, which is in another tab. This is really cool because it takes your calendar and it shows you your calendar, and then you can actually click and drag your event to see where it fits in your calendar. So if you're an overscheduled person with lots of different things and you're trying to find a half-hour time slot, this is a nice feature for you. And then one last thing that I want to show you is that, let me go back to event details, you can set up repeating events. There's a repeating event. You can repeat it weekly, daily, every weekday, skipping Saturdays and Sundays, every other day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. It could be a yearly event, like a birthday or an anniversary. And you can even set it up so that it repeats with your own schedule. I'll show you a repeating event in a little bit as well. An all-day event is if it's a special day, say that you're having a special celebration on that day and it's not at a specific time, you can click on all day and it's an all-day event, and it'll actually show up at the top of your calendar. I'm just going to discard these changes and go back to my regular calendar. And I'm going to show you a couple other ways to create an event. The way I just showed you was to click on the calendar itself, but as Jackie showed, there's the Create button over here. So you could click on Create and it brings you right to the event details. And that's one way to add it. But my favorite way to add an event is the Quick Add. And with the Quick Add, you can just type in some text here and quickly add in an event. You can add in the what and the when, the what and the where, and it'll try and figure out where to put it on the calendar. Let me just give you some examples. I happened to have a meeting with Jackie earlier this week, so let me show you. If I wanted to add a meeting with Jackie, I could say Meet with Jackie. Oh, I can't type today though. Meet with Jackie Tuesday, and I'm going to abbreviate Tuesday, and that's fine, at 2. And I'm going to click Add. And you'll notice on my calendar, oops, that's exactly when I met with her. Now I have 2 meetings with Jackie Tuesday at 2. It added it to my current week. And yes, that's in the past, but it's just doing what you told it to do. On the current calendar on Tuesday, that's what it did. But if I want, I can say, meet with Jackie next Tuesday at 2 p.m. And then, if I go to the next week calendar, you will see that it has added that in. I could also do a quick add. There's a shortcut for those of you who like shortcuts. If I just press the letter Q on my keyboard when I'm looking at the calendar, that brings up the quick add screen as well. And I could type in meet with Jackie on 11/19 at 2. I can put in the date. But this is fun. I could say water plants every Sunday. And remember I was talking about repeating events? I put that in, and every Sunday on my calendar, I now have water plants. Should be next week. There's my water plants. So it's next Sunday, it's the Sunday, the following Sunday, the following Sunday, and you see I have water plants every Sunday. Now this is a repeating event. If I click on this, and I want to delete, say, just this one day, then I have 3 choices. I can delete only this instance, I can delete all of the repeating events following this time, this date, or all the events in the series. So if I just wanted to do only this instance, you'll see that when I go back, it's still the week before, and when I go forward, it's still the week after. A lot of fun. I started trying to see how much I could add, and I even did a quick add, something like faculty meeting on first Wednesday of every month. For all you teachers out there, if you have a faculty meeting on first Wednesday of every month, I add that in, and that will add the faculty meeting. If I go to my month view, you will see here it is. In October. Oh, actually, it's, where did I put it? Here it is right here. And you can see it's the first Wednesday of every month. Since we're still in the month of October, it tried to find the first Wednesday of October, and there wasn't a Wednesday left. All right, I think I've shown you a lot of things to help you add events into your calendar. There's one last thing I want to show you, and that's tasks. You can also have tasks associated with your calendar. And I can turn my tasks off, and I can turn it back on. You can see over here where tasks are, and over here I can have a task list. And say I wanted to just create a little to-do list for myself. I can say mail a letter. Maybe I want to pay my bills. Maybe I even need to buy milk. I can make a little list of the things that I want to do. I can also rearrange the order of priority by dragging to the left of the little box there. And I have my list. And one last thing, say I want to associate a date with it, pay bills, I can put in a due date. So I want to remember to pay the bills on November 1st. I can share that, and notice it popped up onto my calendar there. And if I just go back to my weekly view, you'll see it's at the top for the day, the pay bills, and it can remind me to pay the bills, and as soon as I pay the bills, I can check it off here, I can check it off here, and if I check it off, it gets crossed out. So I know that I completed that item. If I want to delete the item, whatever item is selected, I can come down here. If you see the little garbage can, and I can delete that item. And then one last thing is you can have multiple lists. So for me, since I work at 2 different schools, I've actually set up some school lists. So if you go down here to this little icon with the bullet marks, and I click on it, you'll see I have a SUSE to-do list. I have a Weber to-do list. I already completed one item on the list. And here you can also make new lists. There are so many more things I could tell you about, but I want to be able to move on, so that's a quick introduction to adding events and tasks. And now Sean is going to tell you about adding other people's calendars. Sean, it's all yours.
Thanks, Jeanne. What I'm going to show you now is how to add other calendars, some interesting calendars, friends' calendars. So what I'll do is I'll go to my screen and show you what I have. Hopefully you can see my screen right now. And on my screen you'll see that right now I have just my calendar in green, which is up. If I click on my basketball calendar, you'll notice that that pops up. If you go down to other calendars, you'll notice down here that I have a friend's calendar and Jackie Gilmartin's calendar. So if I click on Jackie's calendar, you'll see that it overlays with mine. If I just click on it, it will take it away so I can clear it up and see just what's on my calendar. There's also contacts for birthdays that are in your contact list. And you notice that Jeanne had that in hers. So near the top, if it was a birthday, it would say the person's birthday. I don't have that in mine right now, so that's why it doesn't come up. If I click on holidays, which was already in my calendar, you'll notice that Halloween comes up. And I mean the color is orange to go with Halloween. And I showed you how to do Jackie's. Now, to get Jackie's, she invited me or shared her calendar with me. One way I could do that to find somebody else's by just searching for a friend. So with Jeanne, she shared her calendar with me, so as soon as I put her in this Add a Friend's calendar section over here, her calendar was able to pop up. So now it's on my calendar. Once again, if I want to get rid of it, I just click on her name. Now what might happen over here is this might get very cluttered with a lot of different things. So one thing that you can do is if you go over to the arrow next to the calendar that you want to remove, in this area I can go to hide this calendar from the list. Now when I click on that, it disappears. If you would like to get that back at some point, when you go to the other calendars and you come back down to settings, now as you go into the list, you'll see that Jeanne's calendar is here, but it's not checked in the show in list. So if I wanted to add it back to my list, I highlight it, I go back to my calendar, and now you'll see that Jeanne's calendar is back on my list. So these are the calendars that I have. If I wanted to add a friend's calendar who I didn't have access to, so you'll see Justin is someone that I'm going to choose. When I hit that, if I don't have access to his calendar, this is what's going to pop up. So I can email the contact and ask, and this is requesting access. So I can type in my own message. Google gives you a message that they've already prepared for you. And if I wanted, I'd hit send request, and that would be sending a request to Justin for access to his calendar. When I go over to other calendars, I can also do it by adding a friend's calendar here and typing in their email. It's a little bit easier just to kind of go into the window here, though. The other settings here, browse interesting calendars. We have a list of all holidays. So if your students were coming from another country and you wanted to be familiar with some holidays so you could share that with them, you could go to any of the holidays and you would just go over to the right-hand side and you would hit subscribe. Preview will show you what it looks like in the calendar. And so right now, holidays in South Africa, the 30th would be highlighted. You could click on that and it would show you what the holiday is. There are a couple more categories. We have sports. So the basketball fan that I am would follow the NBA. I could go down to the New York Knicks, hit subscribe, and now when I go back to my calendar, you'll notice that on the calendar, the Knicks games are put into the calendar. If the game has already taken place, it actually shows you the score of the game. If it hasn't taken place, then it just shows you who they're playing and where the game is at. So if you're a fan of certain sports teams and you want to know what time they're playing, this is a great ad. I can always click on it, change the color. So if I wanted to make it a little bit more blue to represent the Knicks, I could do that as well. So there is a list of sports, a number of different sports. You can go into that. If I also go to the More category, you'll see contacts, birthdays, and events, which was already there. Day of the year. So I'll show you just in preview format. That's just basically showing you what day of the year we're into. So it would be the 303rd day of the year of October for today, if you wanted to go over with your students for that. There's the Hebrew calendar, phases of the moon, star dates, sunrise and sunset for Port Washington. So I'll show you a preview of that one. Just shows you the times in your calendar. And then also week numbers, which is the same as the day of the week, just showing you the number of the week of the year. So this is the 44th week of the year. And that is the interesting calendars. You go back to other calendars here. I can also show you how to add by URL. So say you wanted to put the Portnet calendar into your Google Calendar. What you would do is you would go to the Portnet website. I would come over to the district calendar, click on that. When it comes up, I would go find this iCal button. So when I click on the iCal, now the URL comes up. So I can hit copy URL to clipboard, and now it's already stashed on my clipboard. When I go back to my Google Calendar, and I go to add by URL, I just paste here, hit add calendar, and now you'll see that in purple, the Portnet calendar has appeared on my Google Calendar. So you can add calendars from other places if you can get the URL. So for us, Portnet would make sense, and it has all the different things from the Portnet calendar. I could also import a calendar from different places on your computer. So if you have a Mac and you want to import your iCal, you can do that as well by just choosing the file and then importing. And with settings, I can show you, as I said before, the show list. So if I wanted to get rid of just it being on my list, I could also come in here and do that. If I decided I was no longer a New York Knicks fan, I could come over and unsubscribe so that the Knicks calendar was not on my calendar any longer. Those are just some of the really fun things you can do to add and spice up your calendar. And I will now pass it on to Justin.
All right, thanks, Sean. My name is Justin Ryan. I'm a third grade teacher in Sousa Elementary School. And today I'm going to show you some key features to about the Google Calendar. Some of these features are going to be including inserting your calendar into a Google site, and I can also show you the embed code if you do not use a Google site. Having people set up appointments within your calendar, and also putting attachments on your calendar. So first, I'm going to start off with inserting your calendar into a website. So I'm going to share my screen. And as you can see, it pulls up my calendar. I'm going to walk you through all the steps of inserting your calendar into a website. So here's my calendar. Now I'm going to go to my website in which I want to put my calendar in. First thing you have to do is you have to be able to edit your website. So I have a page where I want a calendar, but there's no calendar that actually exists. So the first step that I want to do is I want to edit the page. I should have it where I see my cursor here. Okay, and then you put your cursor where you want to edit, insert your calendar. Now to place the calendar in there, you're going to go to Insert, and a drop-down menu will appear. You're going to go all the way over. You have Common, Gadgets, and Google. So I'm going to go over to my Google Calendar. When I click on the calendar, it's going to ask me which calendar I would like to use. So I have access to a few calendars. You have holidays, birthdays, and Jackie and Jeanne have both shared their calendar with me, so I could put theirs in, which I'm not going to do. I can choose my calendar. I get the check mark, I hit select, and then it's going to give you other options of what you want to do with your calendar. And now this is all about personal preference. So I'm going to leave it all as the regular default options, and then you click save. Now you're going to have this picture come up into your section that you want it. The reason it hasn't come up as a calendar yet is because I haven't saved it on my actual website yet. So when I go and I save it on my website, my calendar is going to now appear. This is very helpful if you want to share anything that's going on in the classroom with parents or even with the students when they go home. You can put birthdays, you can put holidays, you can put anything that's going on in your classroom so that they know what's going on. So they know tomorrow at 11 there's going to be a Halloween party. Okay? That is putting a calendar into your Google site. Now, if you don't have a Google site, like most teachers don't, and you have a SchoolWire site, you can embed your calendar onto those websites. In order to embed those calendars on a non-Google site, you simply go up to your settings bar, which is the little gear. You drop down, go into settings. Click on the settings button, and you're going to have a lot of calendar settings in here. Where you're going to want to go is into your calendars, which is another tab at the top. So you click on tab calendars, and you find your calendar. My calendar is called Justin Ryan, so I'm going to click on it. Now, it gives me everything I need to know about my calendar. Also, it's going to give you something called an embed code. So when it says embed this calendar, what you're going to do is you're going to copy and paste this code into your website that you are going to want to embed your calendar in. Just a simple copy and paste, and then you put it into your, oh, that wasn't supposed to happen, into your website that you want it in. And that is embedding your calendar. But I'm not embedding it, so I'm going to cancel and get out of there. Go back to my calendar. Cancel, general, and go back. Okay. Now, I'm back at my calendar. The next thing I want to show you is talking about allowing people to set appointments onto your calendar. This is something where you're going to have to change some permissions on your calendar. So be wary of who you allow to do this, because you don't want people to, mess with your calendar and delete anything that might be important for you. So the first thing is, again, you're going to find your settings by going to the gear, and you're going to click on settings. Now you're going to click on the calendar that you want, which is a Justin Ryan again. And then you're going to go to share this calendar at the tab on the top. Now, for this, you can, like Jackie was showing before, you can make it public, but that's not what you want to do, because you want specific people to be putting their input onto your calendar. So if I want to share this calendar with my Portnet address, I can put in jryan@portnet.org, and then here you'll see the permission settings. This is the important part. Right now, if I hit add person, they're only going to see my events. They can't do anything. If you want them to be able to add and make changes to your calendar, you have to change their permissions. So there are two permissions here that give them editing rights. One of them is just to make changes. The other one is to make changes and also share. So they can now share your calendar with somebody else. You're giving them one extra step. So if you just want them to be able to add to your calendar and make changes, you give them that permission, and then you click on add person. Now, my J. Ryan at Portnet, my school account, can make changes to my calendar. So now if I want to add to a day where I know I'm having a meeting, I can put that in there with whichever site I use. And you can enter as many people as you want to share your calendar. It's just very important who you let actually share with you, because, like I said, if you're sharing with students, you have to be careful, because you don't want them to be able to delete anything that they're not supposed to. So I'm going to cancel this because I don't want to save it. And now it brings me back to my calendar. The final thing that I want to talk to you about is enabling attachments within your calendar. Now, this is something that is not, Google hasn't set into place yet, so it is in their Google Labs, which is where they're trying to have people test out new things. To get to Google Labs, you're going to have to go into your settings and find the Labs button. When you click on Labs, it's going to come up with a lot of different labs for your calendar. You're going to go down and find event attachments. Every one of these is disabled until you decide to actually enable them. So when you go down and you find event attachments, you want to click on enable, and then you want to save it. Now you are going to have the ability to add attachments to your events. Now if I want to add an attachment to an event, all you have to do is go to that event. I'm going to have a Halloween party tomorrow, and I want to add an attachment, maybe an invitation, maybe what some people should be bringing, anything else. What's new in here now is when you go down, you're going to see attachment. And just like when you're uploading anything else that you've uploaded in the past, a picture to Facebook, anything else, you're going to click on the Add Attachment button. You're going to get a pop-up. You have a lot of different options you can use to add an attachment. You can go from My Drive. You can get things from Shared With Me. You can upload or something that's previously selected. Now, using My Drive, I decided that I was going to make an invitation to our Halloween party. So I find the invitation within My Drive. I click on it so it gets highlighted, and then I select it. Now I have an attachment with my event. So when I save it, and then I go back to my calendar, I simply, I can go into the event, I can click on it, and now everybody who is invited to this event and has the rights to it can click on my attachment, and up pops the Halloween party invitation. So they know where the party is, that they're invited, and anything else that you may want to show them. So let me get out of that real quick. And then simply, if you want to get rid of the attachment, you hit an X, or you can discard changes. So I'm going to save that, and that is how you would add an attachment to your events. And that is all I have. I'm going to pass it over to Mike, who's going to talk about syncing your calendar to your mobile devices. So Mike, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Justin and everybody else. Here we have my phone, and I am with my phone more often than I'm with a computer or some other device that is stationary. And like most people, you probably are with your mobile device more often than not. And the nice thing about having a mobile device that's connected and synced to your Google Calendar is that you can access it from your desktop, your tablet, your phone, or whatever it is you might have. It doesn't matter the platform you have either, because you can access Google Calendar on most devices. And I'm going to show you how to sync it to your mobile platform, whatever that platform might be. Okay, so I'm going to first enable screen share. Okay. Doesn't seem to be working. Try it again. Okay. I'm not sure what's happening. I'll try it again. This is new. It has not happened like this before. Okay, if one of the partners can chime in and tell me if you can see my desktop properly or not, that would be helpful. Because
Yes, we can see it now, Mike.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, so Jackie earlier showed you on Google Calendar when you go into settings, there's a link here to sync your mobile device. So if you have a calendar that has different calendars, here I have one from Jeanne, here I have one from Jackie, the United States holidays, contacts birthdays, Portnet, all the things in one calendar. You click on sync with mobile device. When you click on that, you open up to a Google support page. And anybody who has any interest in doing so, you don't necessarily need our presentation after the fact, because once I show you how to do that, you can hopefully do it on your own. But I will also make our presentation accessible on our YouTube channel and on the Google Apps Circles on Google Plus page. I'll upload it to Drive. So if you click the link for calendar for mobile browsers, it explains how to use the calendar on your mobile device. Sync Google Calendar with your Android device should you have an Android device, or sync Google Calendar with a mobile device, and this would be a link that would bring you to multiple locations. You can click on the plus next to either one of these and follow the directions here, and it's pretty straightforward, and you can read it. It says go to your device home screen, etc. I have built a graphic version for you to see. All right, so here we have, most people use, or in the past have used, paper calendars. My wife still uses a printed NICET paper calendar, and she has Post-its sticking out of it like the one on the right here. And in the house, we have another calendar like the one on the left. And I prefer using a digital calendar because for me it works, and my penmanship is terrible, and papers get lost, and I like being able to access it for when I'm at work or on the road. So the first thing you would do on an iPhone or an iPad would be to go to your home screen and then select the settings icon, which is down on the bottom, the arrow is pointing to it. You might have your settings icon anywhere on your home screen. I happen to have it on the bottom of my phone. Okay, you scroll down in your settings to find the mail and contacts calendars, and you click on that. Then you click on add account. I had to scroll down a little bit to find mine because I have a lot of accounts already added. If you don't have that many, you won't need to scroll down. Okay. After you do that, for add account, you have a lot of opportunities to add other accounts. When you click on Google, the page will pop up. You need to enter your Google email address, password, etc. I like to add the name of the calendar or the account for my name. Instead of putting Mike Shampanier under name, I put mshampanier@gmail, my email address. Then I put my email address again, and then the password, and then description, put the email address again, or be more specific and say, this is my calendar or account for Google Apps class. So I type in Google Apps Stony Brook contacts or calendar or account, and it would show up on the end. So you click on next, go to the next page, and when you go back to the home screen, you click on the calendar app. Like the settings icon, you can have this anywhere on your home screen. Mine happens to be where the arrow is pointing to, and there's going to be the date in black and the day in red. When you open that up, there is a calendar page on the right-hand side, and when you click on the red word calendars on the bottom, it will bring you to a list of all your calendars that are on your iPhone. And you have to click the calendar you want to display. And the red checks are there because I've already selected it. And you can deselect any one you want. And as you can see, they all have different colors, which relate to the colors on your desktop Google Calendar, as was shown to you earlier by my partners. So the first one is, it says mshampanier@gmail.com for Google Apps class. So when I did this the first time, I entered an actual description that I mentioned before, but when I showed you on the previous screen, I just typed in my email address, but I put in more details when I did the screenshot. So once you fill that out, you click Done, and that will bring you back to your calendar. And each vertical line next to the time and the event is in the different color. So it shows up in your iPhone calendar that way. And it compares or matches the Google Calendar on the desktop. So the blue on the right side on the Google Calendar on the desktop appears blue on the iPhone as well. And same thing with the green. Okay? So congratulations, that's more or less how you set up syncing for your mobile device. And the nice thing about this is you could be at work and enter your Google Calendar on your phone, or at home and enter it on your phone, and then you put your phone in your pocket, you check the computer. It's pretty much instantaneous that it shows up in one location to the other. Years ago, Google syncing devices took a long time, and you'd have to wait for it to go over the network. But these days, it's very quick, and it happens very quickly. If you set up your account to be the same on multiple devices, as an example, if I put my email address on my iPhone and my wife's iPad for a home calendar, okay, it would show up on her iPad and my iPhone. So as an example, if I had something to do after work, I could type in my calendar, must go to appointment or meeting or faculty meeting, whatever it might be. It would show up on her end as well, so she could have access to it and vice versa. Just like with the class, if we had shared calendars or even set up a calendar for us all to access together, it would appear on all the different devices. Okay, this is the link from the information from that link from the settings. Again, if you click the link here, it would bring you back to the text version on the Google support page that explains how to use Google Calendar on the various devices. If you dig a little bit deeper on the Google support page, one thing I did not show you there is how to sync with your Apple iCalendar. If you have problems with syncing, click this link here. This is also taken directly from the Google support page. So if you have trouble syncing, you can click the link on the Google support page, which you'd access from the Google settings, to discover how to correct the problems. Or you can, if you have problems syncing with specifically your Google Calendar with Android, that link. And if you happen to be a person who has a Windows phone, I found this on the Google support page, buried a little bit further, and I added the link here as well. But Google can sync with Windows Phone as well, besides Apple, iPhone, iPad, and the various Android devices that are out there. All right, thank you very much. That's my presentation on syncing your mobile devices with your Google Calendar.
Great, thank you, Mike. Well, it doesn't appear that we have any questions or in our Q&A for this evening's presentation. So I just would like to sum it up and say thank you very much for joining us for our Google presentation on calendars. And I hope that you found it informative and learned a few things while watching our presentation tonight. Have a great night. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.